Hello. Hi, friends. Welcome to my live. If you're joining on LinkedIn, hi, welcome. We get coffee every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn. And if you're joining on Instagram, hi, this is new. I've never done this before. So please pray to the gods of Wi-Fi for me. Pray to the gods of internet connection that I somehow managed to pull this off because I'm live streaming on both platforms all at once. So big hi to Jeff and Giacomo and Thomas and Emma and Keith and everybody who is coming in. If you haven't already, because I like to get to know you and hopefully you want to get to know me and our special guest who's really amazing. Please say hi. Where are you coming in from? And maybe what is in your cup? Because if you're like me, it might not be caffeine. I mean, mine's caffeine today, and I won't tell if yours isn't, but mine's caffeine. Today I have a zest tea blend. And it has caffeine because I have to keep the energy high because we have not one, but two live platforms right now. And I'm calling it a discussion mullet. And I'm calling it a discussion mullet because if you're working today and you're like, I can't have my Instagram live on, that's okay. Business in the front. Join us over on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Kim Kalp. It's right there on my profile. Or if you're in party mode, I don't know, starting to be the end of the week. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Friday, TGIF, around the corner. Then maybe you're in party mode, join us on Instagram. Party, business, it's a full-on mullet discussion, but I'm super excited that you are here with me today, and I'm really excited to talk about all things entrepreneurship and business and branding with my latest girl crush. And I know that sounds super weird to say, but I don't know how else to describe her other than a girl crush because my Elious is just a powerhouse. I started following her on social media a couple months ago and have just been blown away by the businesses, it's an ES, businesses she's been able to build. That's right, because it's not one business, it's multiple businesses. It's one of those people that I'm sitting here going, okay, one business seems hard, and you, my friend, have multiple going on. So this is pretty exciting. So I hope you will help me, and maybe she will become your best friend too. If you haven't already, gonna drop a link for you to cyber stalk her yourself, and maybe she too will become your newest girl crush. She's definitely my newest business girl crush, but please help me in welcoming Maya.
Hey, we're making
Hi,
it
how
work.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. We have all of the systems working. We're here.
Exactly. So let me know if you hear any echoes. I'm good on my end. But yes, okay.
I hear you on here. I'm buffering on Instagram, but it could just be because we have all of the things going.
Okay.
Perhaps, maybe.
Awesome. I actually accidentally exited out of Instagram. So let me request to join again.
I love it. If anybody ever thought, like, is live TV hard? Like, I have a whole new respect for Hoda. Like, Hoda, how are you doing this? This is some real stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a lot, but we got this.
It's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Here we go. Well, I sort of let the cat out of the bag that you're sort of like my newest girl crush, business crush, just like everything crush. You seem to be crushing it everywhere.
I love that that's the perception that people are getting.
I mean, that's the perception that I'm getting. It just feels like you are everywhere doing so many cool things. It's amazing. Where do you find the time to do it all? And for anybody who maybe didn't cyber stalk you before, which by the way, don't we all just cyber stalk everybody? I don't know who doesn't cyber stalk, but if somebody didn't cyber stalk you before, do you introduce yourself as a brand strategist? Is that the go-to title?
Yeah, personal branding strategist is pretty much the go-to title. Because I've just been in the personal branding space for so long. So that's just what I cling to.
Because I would also say you own two companies. So I would say CEOs. Can you be multiple CEOs? Can you be like all the CEOs at one time? Because you're the CEO of two companies.
I am the CEO of two companies. Yeah, I think I probably just go by CEO now more than personal branding strategist, since I really do play like the ownership role in my companies now. And I don't know if you saw, like, one of my recent posts on Instagram was like, at this point, I'm just trying to own businesses. I don't want to run them. And so I am a personal branding strategist, but I'm also scaling back a little bit and actually just taking a look at how the company is running versus being on like the everyday and doing the strategy and all of that within the company.
Of course I saw that post, number one. And number two, I want to add on that because you also are owning the fact, which we have to get into, of making money while you sleep. Because I feel like people hear that term and they just lean in and they're like, I love sleeping. I love making money. I want to do all those things at once. But I feel like there's a big misnomer that people, when they hear I want to make money when I sleep, that means they don't work. And I actually think you work really hard to make money while you sleep, if that makes sense.
Exactly. It's like I had to lose the sleep first. That's why I'm making the money. It's like I lost sleep, and then when I fell asleep, then the money came in.
Exactly. I mean, how long did it take you in your business to really feel like I want to own this concept of making money while I sleep?
That definitely took years. I mean, when I first started my business, I was excited about doing the work, and I'm still excited about doing the work. I think making money in your sleep isn't necessarily about like avoiding the work. It's just making sure that your work is always producing benefits versus only producing benefits at the time that you are doing the work.
Well, and I think it also takes an incredible amount of active, when you are making money while you're asleep, especially with your program, signature offer, there's customer service that people don't realize. You really are super serving do you call them students? Do you call them
I call them clients.
Clients. Mm-hmm. Like you have to be super serving your clients all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're always technically serving. So there's a lot of things that even my team handles for me when I'm not the person doing it. So there's always work being done, whether it's through delegation or through automation. So I'm either doing it, my team is either doing it, or an automated email or whatever is being sent out and it's getting done.
I feel like I wish I could take like a tour into your mind, because I imagine it just like the Matrix. Like there's just multiple things going on at once. You see all the dots, like on those CSI shows, like the map behind you see all the dots connecting. It just seems like, wow. Did you always have that mindset? Because I mean, your story is so amazing that you started making these MySpace pages, dabbling in flyers, dabbling in invites, and now you've launched and you're the CEO of two companies. So that is quite like an arc. Do you think that your mind was sort of always working like that? Even when you were building MySpace pages back in the day, you could like see all the dots connecting?
Girl, I think when I started, I had about 2 dots that I was aware of. Now there's probably 2 million dots. So I think more dots came as I grew as an entrepreneur. So my vision has expanded. And I feel like that's something that I've worked on mindset wise in terms of like, I think it was 2017 or 2018 where my word was expansion, where it was like you just need to think bigger. You need to be able to expand your vision. So I think, at the time when I started, my highest level vision for myself was, making money consistently by creating websites. And obviously I'm not doing websites anymore. And I have a more specific number into what I want to hit instead of just, making a means to an end and just making enough. So I definitely, I've always been ambitious, but I haven't always had this level of vision.
Well, and it's quite a level of vision. And I heard this, you told this story, and I wish I was like in the room with you as you were telling it, because I would have been like, hold up, girl. Okay, I was listening to this, allow me to have this Maya crush moment. I was listening to this podcast, and on the podcast, you're talking about how there's this lipstick that you really loved, and people would always compliment you on it. You would wear it all the time. And then you were really sad that they discontinued it. And by the way, that's happened to me. That's happened to all of us with some sort of product that we love that they discontinue. And you're like, no, Dove soap, bring it back. And usually the thing is like, well, let me go on eBay and buy 500 of them and hope for the best. I love, you talk on this podcast that you're literally your second thought after like, oh no, they're discontinuing this lipstick, is let me reach out to the company and buy them and keep making the lipstick. Like, what? Like, I've been an entrepreneur for a decade. I've never heard someone say like, oh, something's going out of business, let me buy it. What?
Yeah, I don't even know where that came from. The entrepreneur in me definitely has come out a lot within the past 2 years. And yeah, going with that story, even with the venture that I have now, it's really just coming from a place of like, I'm going to build a business out of it if I can't just get it directly from the company.
And for anybody who doesn't know, you basically did that with an athletic wear brand.
Yes.
You work out. I follow you on Instagram. You're working out every single morning. Fire. And you literally were like, I work out a lot. I wear workout clothes a lot. Like, I'm going to do this. And you started an entire brand on it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, like for those of you who don't know the story, first with the lipstick, people were asking me where the lipstick came from. And so I wanted to direct them to this business because I knew it was a Black owned business and I really wanted to direct people to that business. But when they were out of business, I'm like, let me see if I can purchase it. And then I didn't hear from them. So I was going to actually start a cosmetic brand and start off with lipsticks. And so I sourced lipsticks that I really liked. I really loved the colors. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to just start this cosmetic brand and call it Rebellious Beauty. And then the two things happened. One, I made the decision to just kind of pause a little bit on it because I'm like, let me get my first company to 1 million first. Instead of breaking momentum to start something new, let me get to a certain level where I can build a team to help me run the company instead of slowing down. So I took my first company to 1 million. And then what also happened was the pandemic happened. And it's like, girl, nobody's worried about lipstick. It's a pandemic. Like, we're not going anywhere and we're all wearing masks. So then I was like, okay, so I'm not going to do the lipstick thing anymore, but I still love the name Rebellious. And so I just kind of like tabled it. I'm like, I'll do the lipstick thing after the pandemic. Because you remember when the pandemic happened and we all thought 3 weeks we'll be back outside again. And here we are a year later and the CDC is out here playing games with these masks, but I'm not even going to go there. But what did happen in the pandemic was all of us gained weight. And we were trying to figure out how to exercise. And so I'm trying these YouTube workouts at home. It's not working. And I finally get a trainer and I buy a bunch of cute workout sets from this company. And people are starting to ask me like, your workout sets are so cute. Where are you getting them? And when we reached out to the company, asking them like basically if they pay influencers, because I had been sending a lot of people to them, they said they only specifically worked with fitness influencers. And I'm like, well, if y'all aren't going to pay me, I'm going to pay me. So what I did was I sourced the workout sets and then started Rebellious, and we launched about a month ago.
Well, and I feel like that I saw Giacomo's question about where you find your inspiration, and I'd love to hear your answer to that. But also I feel like so much of it is mindset. Like, you literally were like, if they're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Is that sort of your inspiration? Is that sort of self-starter mentality?
Yeah, I'm grateful that, a part of my characteristic is really just taking initiative. Like, I won't wait around and wait for somebody else to do it when I have the full ability and the capacity to do it on my own.
I imagine that's something that I would imagine you would hear a lot from your clients as well, because sometimes I think the mindset piece is the largest hurdle. That's sort of like, someone might be watching and say, well, of course Maya can do that. Maya's brave, Maya can do that, but like, I could never do that. What do you say to people like that to kind of shape them out of that mindset?
Right. I'm just like, why not? Like, why can't you? I think I just have, I jokingly talk about this with like colleagues and clients and stuff like that. Like, I have this unhealthy, confidence, right? Like, I just think I can do anything. Why not? Right. And I think one thing that really helps me is to pay very close attention to what privileges that I do have. So when I think about like, where does my confidence come from? I think like my upbringing, I grew up in a 2-parent household. The fact that, we live in America, I'm a first generation American. My parents have always really made me feel like I could do anything. I'm able-bodied. I can see, I have internet, I have running water. I can live with dignity. If I have the internet and running water and a place to live, why can I not start a business? Like, anything else is just a mental block that we need to work through. But I think about what I have available to me and I make something of it.
And what do you think about side hustles? Because I know, like, I feel like with some of my founder friends, it's a split camp. Like, I love the idea of side hustles, but some people are very like, no, you either need to go all in or get out. What's your viewpoint on them?
I love the idea of a side hustle. I think it's side hustles are actually like a great way to beta test what you want to go all in on. So it's like while you're doing your side hustle. And I also think people do side hustles for different reasons. So we need to be really mindful of the information and the advice that we take in. I think one thing that I am always praying about and something that I advise people is like, make sure that you're operating with a level of discernment and wisdom, because I think the go all in advice can be great for somebody who has a desire to be a full-time entrepreneur. But at the same time, it could be detrimental for somebody that's like, I enjoy doing this hobby and I make money from it and it's not stressful. The moment you go all in, say hello to stress. So I think it always comes down to what's my true and honest reason for doing this side hustle. Do I want it to be a full-time business? If so, let me start paying attention to data. Let me run it like a real business. And then let me also make a decision numbers wise when I feel comfortable going full-time with it. And if your true and honest reason is, I just want to be able to make a little bit extra money and this is therapeutic for me and it's helpful for me, then you keep it as a side hustle and then stay away from advice that goes against just enjoying having a hobby.
Well, and I also think this side hustle is good too. And by the way, I'm also in the camp that if you have a corporate job, keep that corporate job as long as humanly possible. When I started my company, I held on to that corporate job with a death grip. I was like, healthcare, 401k, like, God, I love you. And really got to the point where obviously the side hustle in the business got so big that eventually I had to let go and go fully in, because you're right. The minute you let go of that security, the health insurance, the 401k, the paycheck, like stress levels, like there is a direct correlation in there somewhere. So I also really think that side hustles are great if you work in corporate, because it's a great way to kind of dabble, keep your stress levels low. You can still pay the bills, you can still pay your cell phone, rent, all good. And you can also see if you hate it. I mean, I know some people who are like, the grass is greener, I can't wait to do my own thing. And then they get over there and they're like, oh, this grass is kind of brown. Like,
exactly.
It's a lot harder than I thought.
Right. This grass actually requires a lot more nurturing than I thought. And I don't want to do that. I think it's okay for us to admit we don't want to do the work to be entrepreneurs and then just not be entrepreneurs. Like, again, it all comes down to honesty. Like, I think a lot of times we find ourselves in situations because we're trying to fulfill an expectation of either people we know or people we don't know. And that can get us in a lot of trouble. But like you said, and I had posted this morning, a flashback of something I said 4 years ago, where I was like, I know I'm a business coach and I encourage people to go full-time who want to go full-time. But if you want to keep your job, sis, hold on to that job, hold on to that stability, right? And I think there's actually a huge advantage of being in corporate before you start your business, because you learn so much from actually working in a business on how to run a business. I've never had the luxury of having like a legit 9-to-5 and being in corporate. So I didn't know anything about anything. And I think, there are some good things to that, right? Because I think there's some toxicity in corporate culture that can be carried over. But I also think that there's a lot of structure from corporate that is really important to carry into your business that I'm learning a lot about now that I didn't have any insight of. Like actually my employees now are teaching me things that they learned when they worked in corporate.
Well, and I think that there's two interesting points there. One, I always tell when I speak to young people that might be in high school or in university, I always tell them, look, even if you know you want to be an entrepreneur, great. You want to start your own business, great. Still go into corporate and go in with like a James Bond, like Nancy Drew mindset. And I want you to go, like, you want to own an ice cream business? Great. Go work at Breyer's Ice Cream. Go detective all around. Don't like steal stuff. Don't be like stealing company secrets, but like go do all the detective work so that when you start your own version, you know, you can kind of take some of those same lessons that you learned.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting about your employees teaching you things that they learn from corporate, because I think so many people don't realize how much we all have to learn from each other. That you know,
100%.
Entrepreneurs don't just necessarily learn from other entrepreneurs. They learn from everybody.
Exactly. And that's why we can't act like people who have a 9 to 5 are less valuable than entrepreneurs and vice versa. Like we all bring something to the table. There's a lot I don't know about the inner workings of a business, right? Like I know how to get an LLC. I know how to show up online. I'm good on camera. I know how to market and I know how to generate money, but generating money is not the same thing as knowing how to run a company. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. It's like, how do you treat your employees? What policies do you have in place? And you learn a lot about that from people who have dealt with policies and HR and all of that.
Well, and not only that, but I feel like you really get a sense of getting into the mindset. Like if you're an entrepreneur, I feel like one thing we're always thinking about is like, how do people think? What do they think? How is this going to work? And so I'm curious for you, especially as somebody who has coached in the past and as somebody who has done strategy for other people, who helps you do strategy? Or like, do you have a coach? I always wonder that about people. Like, do the coaches have coaches?
Right. Exactly. A lot of coaches have coaches. Almost all of our clients are coaches. And they always say, like, when they're excited about working with me, they're always like, you know, your coach needs a coach and all of that. And I've had coaches in the past. I don't have a formal coach now, but I still have people that I go to for checks and balances. So it's like, I'll say, like, again, like my coaches are right now my team, because they're also paying attention to what's working, what's not working, and they're coming with a level of experience, right? So I can go to my marketing director and be like, what are some things that we can do to get more people to apply for the program? And her insight is a version of coaching. And then I have a group of friends that I mastermind with who also have, you know, 7 and 8 figure businesses, where we have conversations about, what are you guys doing in terms of your program? What do you guys think about hiring for this position? What direction do you think marketing is going to go in terms of Instagram? So having those conversations, it's like my internal team can coach me based on what's actually happening in our business. And then my friends and colleagues who are also entrepreneurs can give me insight based on what they're doing in their company.
Well, and I think it's so important, whether it's a mastermind or advisors or mentors or advocates, whatever like you want to call them, everybody has different names. For me, it's like SEAL Team 6. Like I have people that I go to where I'm like, I'm thinking about doing something crazy. Like, what are your thoughts on this? And I think too many of us are like embarrassed to get those people or embarrassed to ask for help. And I think especially as women, we're so guilty of this. Like we want to be superhero. Like I made dinner and I run a business and I woke up at 5 a.m. and I meditated and I worked out. And it's like, you can't have all the balls up in the air. It's too much. Like you need help or advice or people that you can turn to and go. How do you find, as you continue to level up in your business? Because I think that this is interesting, that when I say this to people is that your mentors change and your advisors change. Like the person that might've been mentoring you when you were making MySpace pages is certainly not the same person that's mentoring you now. So when you kind of reach a new stage in your career and in your life as a CEO, how do you find kind of those next level advisors or mentors that kind of help you level up?
Yeah, I think it's just about paying attention to your needs. And I'm very like, I don't need, I wouldn't say I'm woo-woo, but I'm very intentional about declaring what it is that I need, right? So if God and I are in alignment that I'm struggling with building my team and I'm seeking help in building my team, somebody is going to come along in my path that is magical at team building, right? And even before I know it, right? Because God obviously knows things before it comes to my realization. So my team has been growing very quickly. And my company has been growing quickly, and we had a client in our program that specifically coaches people on how to be new managers. And I have a leadership team where they have people under them. And I'm like, well, I've never been a manager, so how can I teach you guys how to be managers? So that's an example of like somebody coming in my path that I needed. And so we hired her for leadership training. And that's an example of like getting a coach. She's training me and she's training my team. So one, getting crystal clear on what you need, and then writing it down, declaring it out loud that I need support in this, and then paying attention who comes in your path, and then vetting them, of course, to make sure that they are the right person.
And for someone who might be listening, me, who's like, oh my God, yes, like I want to start declaring stuff that I need help with or that I want to reach. What is your practice around that? Do you physically write it out? Are there sticky notes that are like stuck to a door somewhere? How are you kind of living that intention?
Yeah, I used to write things down a lot, and I still do, depending on what it is. So we use Slack for our teams, and sometimes I'll have a channel that's just for me, like I'll DM myself, or I'll have a channel like look into team building, or you need to train on SOPs, or you need this, or you need that. And so it'll just be at the forefront of my awareness of what I need, and trying to get it out of my brain instead of trying to keep it inside of my head.
It's definitely trying to get the thoughts out of your head and onto paper. I think that's one thing I learned when I started actually having a team is not everybody thinks the way you think. And so things that are obvious to you or things that, well, why didn't you do it this way? Like other people's brains, like you have to put it out, because if you just assume, it's the worst in terms of team building.
Exactly. And sometimes even having a conversation, right? Like that's an easy way to get it out of your head. I mean, you guys probably know, right? Like how many times have you needed advice and you start having the conversation, and as the words are coming out of your mouth, you're coming up with your own solution. And then at the end of the conversation, the other person hasn't said anything. And you're like, this was great. I got exactly what I need. Thanks. I'll call you later. So sometimes even just talking it out with somebody is very helpful.
Oh, 100%. And I love that Charlie brought up, mentioning God and your faith, because that is something that you also, I feel like, again, very intentionally put out there. You're like, this is what I'm about. And I'm curious what that, like, was that always something that you're like, I'm putting it out there? Because I've talked to some entrepreneurs, and they're very like, well, this is work and this is personal. Whereas I think I'm a little more like you. I kind of feel like we bring our whole selves to work. And like, if I had a fight with my friend, or like, I'm not feeling well, like you're going to see that, because I'm like one whole person. So
that part.
How do you give advice to people about that, who are maybe struggling with showing up as their whole self?
Yeah, I love what you said about I'm one whole person. I think we love to believe that business and personal are not the same, and business is extremely personal. Like how people talk to me in business is going to affect me personally. The level of respect that I demand personally is the same level of respect that I demand professionally. So if you better bring your whole self, because there's a lot of value and characteristics that's going to set the standard for how you run your business. And so the standard that I have in my personal life and how I show up and my level of integrity personally is also going to spill over into my business. And I want those same characteristics spilling over into my employees and what we expect of our clients and how we show up for our clients as well. So I don't think that I don't think I woke up and made a decision like, ooh, you should talk about God and see if that's like a business strategy. I think it's like, I talk to God every day, and sometimes oftentimes I do my best to make decisions that are intuitive and guided by the Holy Spirit. So if that's what's happening, that's what I'm talking about. I don't try to hide or be like super obvious. I just try to be me. And when the words flow out my mouth, it either resonates or it doesn't. And that's how business is. You either attract people or you repel them, and you want to keep the people that you attract.
Oh, I feel like that message I just posted 2 days ago about people pleasing and how I'm like an active recovering people pleaser. And that message, like, oh, louder for the people in the back like me, because I've realized you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
It's just, or you'll end up being so vanilla and so like a shell of the version of yourself that you can't make everyone happy. And so what I'm trying to call in is if people unfollow or disconnect or don't want to, that it's like, that's fine. And I accept it like with grace and love, because I don't want to please everyone. It's exhausting.
100%. It is exhausting. I think we all deal with the level of people pleasing. And it's interesting because like, I'm definitely, a recovering people pleaser as well. It's something I have to be mindful of every day. And that's actually a huge part of the message behind Rebellious. So like the name Rebellious is about being a rebel. It's about doing things that it's not going to please other people, right? And it's also a play on my last name, Elious. So Rebellious by Maya Elious. And, I talk, the story behind Rebellious is like me being a rebel. Like my big rebellious act was dropping out of college. And for any of those of you watching, if you happen to know anybody with African parents expect you to be a doctor, a lawyer, working for the government, whatever. They definitely don't expect you to drop out of college to create websites on the internet. So that was definitely my rebellious act. And I was extremely scared, and I was addicted to pleasing my parents. I mean, like, they're my parents. Your parents are like your version of God for so long. And so I'm like, I can't upset them. And so, but when you stop people pleasing, you can actually start living in alignment with what you're meant to do. And so the scariest thing I did in my life was dropping out of college, despite my parents not approving it. But it brought me to this place where I'm running successful businesses. I'm pouring into other people. And it's also serving them. Like, my success is a great reflection of them and what they've been able to do with me.
Well, and I just saw Mark and Jeff in the comments make such a good point that when you repel people, like when you get your tribe closer and them out, like it lifts a burden off of you. Mm-hmm. Like you're kind of like, okay, if you're not my people, if you're not for me, like that's fine. There's somebody else that's going to be for you. And right. That's not me.
But I will say that becomes harder when those people are your parents. Like, mom, dad, if you're just not my people, I don't know what to tell you. So it's like, you have to make tough decisions of like, sometimes the people that you're going to displease are the people that are closest to you. And you have to make the decision, what matters most, pleasing my family or honoring my own intuition. And that's a tough decision to make. It's easier to be like, oh, who cares what my followers think? It's definitely harder to be like, so I know you guys raised me, but I'm going to go ahead and just let you know that I dropped out of college. So yeah.
Have you gotten to a point in life that, as you develop, you start your second company, your first company's doing well, you're doing these live events, that maybe the friends that you had in your 20s or that you had when you were younger, they don't travel with you as you move through life, into your later years? And how do you, because I think coming out of this pandemic, one thing that I've realized is that people have changed in this pandemic, some for the good, some for the bad, whatever. Yep. But, coming out of this pandemic, you might want to not go back to the 2019 version of you. You might want to step into a new version of you, launching your signature offer or stepping into a leadership role or position that you might not have felt was your calling back in 2019. So how do you deal with, or how do you advise people to deal with, the coworkers, the colleagues that were really chumming with you for 2019, when you tell them that you want to do this new thing or go after this award or go after this new project or side hustle, they might not be the most supportive.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot to that. There's a bunch of things coming to mind. one, I'm the type of person that you're going to find out after the fact, right? Because now I've removed myself from the people pleasing, I don't go to anybody for approval or ideas or thoughts. I'm going to do it. So, but the time you have an opinion on it, it's already done. So your opinion on it is for you to deal with. That has actually nothing to do with me. So I'm going to do me regardless. And I also think, again, it comes down to like, what is this person's role in my life? Do I need their approval? Are they supposed to be supporting me in this? Are they supposed to be growing a business with me? Or is this the friend that I go to when I want to do Taco Tuesday and go take shots of tequila? Is this the person that I go to when I need prayer? Is this the person that I go to when I need business advice? So I think also we hold a lot of people to a standard that they're not equipped for. And so that's where grace comes in, where it's like, I'm going to release you from being the perfect friend because you're not even in a place where you can even show up for me like that.
It's so true. And in addition, I would say, almost flipping the script, how do you deal with, because I think we all have it, and again, I'll say it again, but especially as women, we have this self-expectation to be the perfect friend, the perfect daughter, the perfect wife, the perfect partner, that we, you know, have the Instagrammable gift for the baby shower. And there are some days, honestly, Maya, where I am a hot mess. Like there is no gift. Like I'm running into Whole Foods, getting some sad flowers and like showing up with a hot bottle of wine. And I'm like, this is the best we could do today, friends. This is what we've got. So,
Right.
so how do you balance that? Because you have a lot going on.
Yeah. Again, it comes back to when you know what your friends are capable of and making sure your friends know what you're capable of. My friends don't expect me to be an excellent gift giver because it's the least of my love languages, right? So I'm not excellent at gift giving, but it's like, I got you on the Cash App though, sis. So if you need money, I got you. If you need money or prayer, I'm your go-to person. If you need me to sit and search for a gift, I think I don't like gift giving because to me it's administrative and I'm like, I can't right now. I ran a business all day today. I can't go on Amazon and search for a perfect gift. I'm going to Cash App you and you can buy whatever it is that you need. So making sure your friends know, right? Instead of trying to people please and mold yourself into something that you're not to say that you're a good friend. So instead of trying to be the perfect friend, the perfect mom, be the perfect version of you and make sure that whoever buries you is aware of it and whoever decides to be your friend is aware of it.
How do you think about, I hate the phrase work-life balance or work-life mix or trying to mix work and life, and how do you think about where you spend your time if your time is a pie graph? Do you think about it just in seasons? Like in this season, I have to go all in on launching Rebellious, so I don't have as much time for my family. And how do you think about that?
Yeah. And I will give the caveat, like I'm not married and I don't have kids. So I also have a lot of flexibility. And in this season, I have the luxury of being as selfish as I want to because I don't owe a version of myself to anybody. I'm not in covenant with anybody. I don't have any dependents. So if there's a day where I don't feel like showing up, I don't really have to, except for the commitment to myself and my business. But, you know, I will say that I have seasons where I'm launching something. So like we have an annual live event, Impact Weekend, like 4 months out from Impact Weekend. It's like, if y'all see me, you're fortunate because I'm all in with this live event and it's a lot. And then it's like when I'm not launching something, I love spending time with my family. My parents just moved here recently and like my mom texts me every day. And like my family acts like, you know, I've abandoned them if I don't see them once a week. It's hilarious. So it's like, I love seeing my family, but they're also aware that when I have launch seasons that it might be a few weeks that I go without seeing them. So I think it's just communicating with the people that you love and letting them know, like, I really actually do want to see you. I just don't have the capacity right now.
Well, and I feel like I hope that that's something that we all remember as we come into this new post-pandemic life is like capacity and like what that looks like. Because I was just talking to my friend Zakia earlier this morning, and I said, I don't want to go back to the type of busy that I was because I didn't forget at capacity. I was like burnt out and had no idea really because I had no self-awareness of my own capacity.
Yeah,
Zero.
that's so real.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think we've definitely all slowed down a lot. And you know, you had also asked me about like, what do we need in terms of coaches and stuff like that? But I'm like, other than coaches, like, what do we need in our everyday life? Like, do we need therapy? Do we need a housekeeper? Do we need a nanny? Like, I think the average person would feel guilty about getting all of these things, but it's like, I have a chef and I have a housekeeper, because it's like, I cannot make a decision every single day, 3 times a day, of what I'm going to eat. That is entirely too much. And I don't know how moms with husbands and kids do it. Like, I'm deciding what you're going to eat and what you're going to eat and what I'm going to eat, and we all like different things. It's way too much. I can't do it. So I think thinking about like, where can I actually reduce decision fatigue? Because that's where, like, you know, running a business is mentally draining. And it's like, if you can actually make less decisions by hiring somebody to make those decisions for you, please do that. Like, you don't even want to have to sit and like separate colored clothes and your white clothes. Like, even making the decision of that can be so draining. And I think the reason a lot of us take so long to do housework is not because it actually takes so long, but because it's so mentally draining just to get it done. So it's like, okay, the clothes are done in the dryer and you're folding, but you're watching TV, but you're responding to an email. And it's like, why did it take you 4 days to put up your clothes? And at this point, you have to do laundry again.
Well, I think it's really easy. You know, people have like this strengths and weaknesses. It's always an interview question, like, what are your biggest strengths? What are your biggest weaknesses? But I think we need to know what burns you out and what lights you up. Like,
Yeah.
you need to know that about yourself. Like, for you, it's like, okay, making decisions, that's a burnout on food. Not going to do it. So,
Right.
so what fills you up? Like, what is something that when you're doing, you're so happy and it kind of fills your cup?
This is so funny. I honestly, 2 things. I think sitting down and just getting to watch Hulu or Netflix, like that literally fills my cup, because it requires nothing of me. And I just love days where I don't have to do anything. And I'll say the second thing is spending time with my family. So my sister lives about 30 minutes away from me. She has 3 kids, 6 and under, and they're just so cute. And just every time I hear Auntie Maya, like, it literally just brightens up my entire day. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, I have a highlight called Auntie Maya. And if you go through it, just every single one is them like running up to me. It's the best feeling ever. So either alone time with myself or spending time with my family.
Can we all agree? Can you like drop a heart if you agree that being an aunt or an uncle is the best job? Like, you wind them up, you're super cool and fun, you feed them all the cake, you do all the fun stuff. And the minute something bad happens, like it's nap time or there's like a poopy diaper or something, it's like, oh, like, not mine, like, okay, bye. Or like they won't go to sleep. It's like, being an aunt is my favorite thing. You literally just you get all the good parts.
You get all
None
of
the
the
bad
great parts. It's so fun. And they really never have an actual reason to ever get mad at you. So it's just like a beautiful relationship. It's so good.
No, it's so good. I mean,
Yeah.
when you mention, you know, having somebody to help you with cleaning or having somebody to help you with cooking, in terms of your business. So I get that that's like regular life. I think I'm curious, when you think about business and getting help, it's sort of the chicken or the egg. That when I talk to people, it's like, I have to wait until I'm making enough revenue to hire that virtual assistant, or I'm making enough revenue to get that Facebook ads person to help me.
Yeah.
But I can't make more revenue until I free up my time. And then the circle just keeps going and going. So how did you break that when you were just starting to be like, okay, wow, like I'm getting a lot of clients in, like I can't handle all of this?
Exactly. Yeah, that's such a good question, because that is where a lot of people get burnt out. I was talking about it the other day where I'm like, a lot of people who are like right at their first 100,000 are really burnt out, because they're making 100,000 from all of these clients, but it's like they're barely making enough to actually pay people to help them. And I think, like, for those of you who have a corporate gig and you have your side hustle, this is actually now the time to start hiring and get in that mindset of hiring, because you have revenue generating from 2 different places. So this is the time to hire, so you can free up your time from doing things that aren't bringing you money. And anytime you hire, like, somebody should be saving you time, or they should be making you money. Like, those are really the 2 things that you're hiring for at this point. So if they're saving you time, that frees up space for you to do things that make you money. And if they're making you money, then obviously they're making you money. So I think if you have, the corporate 9 to 5, like have like a separate savings account where you're like, okay, let me try to save up 6 months or 3 months of what I could pay somebody else. And that's the direction I would go. For people that are already in it and they're like, crap, I'm stuck. You better start saving. Like, you're going to have to figure something out. You're just going to have to budget for it.
And for people that look at you and say, okay, here's Maya, she's running 2 successful businesses and doing these live events, just to kind of let them in like the Wizard of Oz, how many people are helping you? Like, it's not just you singularly doing all of these things.
Yeah. I have about 9 people helping me. I have 3 managers, so 3 people that directly report to me, and then they each have people under them. And then even like people that aren't directly my team, like we still hire other companies to help us. So even with our live event, that team is just so gigantic for the live event. It's like insane. There's absolutely no possible way for me to run my business at this level by myself. And I think when we consider where we want our companies to go, we need company to run a company. So it's like, who do I need to be able to help me do these things? And it's also okay if you want to be a solopreneur, but just realize, okay, there's only so much I can do as a solopreneur, and that's okay. But if you find yourself getting burnt out, then you need to kind of scale back. And you can be a solopreneur with an assistant as well and still hiring contractors.
And if you are a solopreneur, I think Kimberly just asked such a good question. How do you think about saving money? Like, okay, like I got it, Maya, I'm going to save money, maybe I'm going to get help or maybe just save money because that's a good idea, which is something you talk about on your blog, which I absolutely love. How do you think about, or how do you give advice about saving money?
Yeah. So one thing is, when it comes to budgeting, at the end of the day, you have to be making enough money. Like, you can't really budget when you don't have anything to budget. So one thing that I tell people is, if you are working at capacity and you don't have enough money left over to hire help, you're simply not charging enough. So you need to start increasing your rate so you actually have money to save. So if you're realizing at the end of every month, you're back at 0 because you have too many bills, you have too many expenses, you have to either create another revenue stream or you need to increase your prices. My suggestion is increase your prices. You're probably charging too low anyway, because that's what I find. The majority of people just are simply not charging enough. And then when you're making enough money, then you set a budget of how much you can save every single month.
Which is, I feel like most entrepreneurs, and I loved your tax story, like you get money and you're like, I have all this money. And then you forget about like taxes and expenses and overhead, and like slowly the party music just kind of like fades out because not everybody remembers all that stuff. And I think that's so important when you hear and you see, don't even get me started on my soapbox of all these Instagram ads where it's like, build a $5 million business in 5 months. It makes me want to vomit, because what most people don't realize, and I know because I have founder friends that I've seen the back end of their business, if they're making $5 million, but their spending or their costs are 4.8, that's
right.
a bad business model. Like, that's not going to get you very far. And I think sometimes people just think of top line revenue and they kind of forget about everything else involved with running a business.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely expensive because I'm like, the way salaries are set up, the way, marketing dollars are set up. So it's definitely a lot. And I think, again, that comes back to like, do I want to run a big company or do I want to be a solopreneur? Because as a solopreneur, your profit margins are way higher. You don't really have to pay very many people, especially if you're doing a one-on-one service. Like, it's just easier to run it in terms of your numbers. So those are definitely things that you need to be thinking about.
100%. Okay. This is my favorite part of our conversation, and it's basically where I copy all your homework. So I'm really excited about this.
And I forgot to comment on the taxes. That's what I was like, wait, what was I going to say? But yeah, you guys, like, I'm grateful that you get to see me at this point, but there's just so much that I didn't know, especially because I didn't work in corporate. So I never got a paycheck, which means I did not have any understanding of taxes. I didn't even know what taxes were, what they were for. And so because I started off as a freelancer, I thought every single dollar that came to me was for Maya. I didn't think any of it was for Uncle Sam. I didn't know that me and Uncle Sam were in business together. I thought I was the founder of the company. I didn't know the co-founder was Uncle Sam. So I played myself the first few years in business, because when I first got that notice from the IRS that I owed, I think my very first tax bill was like $2,000. Girl, $2,000 is a lot of money at 20. And I was like, Lord Jesus, you're going to have to get me out of this one. And, I think he was like, listen, you got yourself in this, you got to figure it out. So I just didn't pay my taxes for like years because I didn't know what to do, until my accountant was like, ma'am, you're going to have to start paying these people. So by the grace of God, I don't owe any more money. But yeah, there's so much that I didn't know because I didn't work an actual job. So again, I say, for those of you who have had an actual job in corporate, please be very grateful for that experience.
Girl, here's the worst part. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble. I did work in corporate and I still messed up taxes when I became an entrepreneur, because I lived in New York City. I had always looked in, and I knew you had federal Uncle Sam and I knew you had state Uncle Sam, but my New Yorkers will feel me. We also have city taxes. I didn't know about those things because why? And here I am.
Right.
And I get a letter from the IRS being like, Boo Bear, you've paid zero in city tax. And I was like, what's a city tax? I mean, didn't even know that was a category of taxes. So I tell people all the time, like, even if you're going to be a solo entrepreneur, even if you're going to do a side hustle, whatever, pay $500 to like a bookkeeper. It will be the best $500 you ever spend. I spent more money fixing the mess that I had created than if I had just paid a bookkeeper a few $100s from the start, or bonus if you have a friend who's an accountant and they'll give you like a friends and family help me out deal. Like, do not mess with Uncle Sam. He sees you. He knows. He's like Santa Claus. He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake, and he knows when you make money. And that includes Bitcoin for all you Bitcoin, Dogecoin people. He knows.
Right, exactly.
He will find that money.
Yes, it's like, you better spend that money on getting an accountant or somebody that can help you, or it's going to have to be your bail money. So it's like, you make the decision on what you want.
Yeah. So I loved your advice of like, I wasn't in corporate, but like I was in corporate and I still messed it up. So the advice from Kim and Maya is just doesn't matter. Just, you need someone who's not you.
Just get help. Also,
Just
it's like, Maya, you barely passed accounting in college. Why on earth would you ever think to just skip that portion of the business? So.
Oh, I mean, I'm a CEO according to YouTube. I YouTube things all the time and I'm like, well, I'm an expert. It's like, yeah, I can solve crimes because I watched Law and Order for 8 years. So
exactly.
I'm basically a certified crime scene detective at this point.
Exactly. I'm glad we are more knowledgeable on taxes, and I'm knowledgeable enough to know that I never need to ever attempt to do it by myself.
Know what you know what you don't know, and just let the don't go to someone else.
That's it. 100%. Okay.
I'm so excited for these like speed round, pick your brain, copy all your homework, do everything you do questions, because I feel like I'm going to learn so much. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
Okay. What have you started doing or using lately that you are obsessed with?
Oh, what have I started doing or using?
It could be a product. It could be a product like I love my Apple Watch, or it could be like something like I love meditating. I've been meditating, like just something that you've been doing lately that you're like, I'm obsessed with this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is actually kind of embarrassing, but one thing that I've randomly been doing, is this for business or personal?
Anything. Doesn't matter.
I've been doing like these skin tightening treatments that's like supposed to make my stomach look tighter. And I'm obsessed with it because I work out so much and I really care about like my physical aesthetic. And I'm like, oh, this looks really good. So that's something so random that I started like 2 weeks ago. And I look good, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So it's been
What's it
really
called?
good.
You have to share it. You just share the
It's
brand.
called it's not even the brand. It's like you go somewhere. You can probably find this on Groupon. Like these are the things that you see on Groupon, although I didn't find them on Groupon. It's called cavitation, and it breaks down your fat and it also tightens your skin. I love it.
Done. Done. Okay, well, you can't use this one, but the second question is, what is the best gift that you've given yourself in the past year? Could be like a course that you took or like a mastermind that you joined, but what's like something you did for yourself in your career that you felt like, oh, I'm so glad I gave that gift to myself?
Career-wise, I would say just hiring, just getting the help that I needed and hiring the right people and the knowledge of how to hire the right people. And personally, I would say getting my parents to move here. I just recently posted it on my stories, but at Christmas, I gave them a check so they could move to Atlanta. They used to live in North Carolina, and now they're finally here, and it's just the best thing ever. So I would definitely say giving them that gift was actually for me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, that is definitely a gift for you, for sure, and for them.
100%. Yeah, but really for me.
I feel like you're one of those people that's like a constant, like you're curious, you're learning, you're always getting into new things. So what's something that you're excited to learn about, or something new that you kind of like want to go down the rabbit hole on more?
Oh, these questions are good. What do I want to learn? I think it's so hard for me to even think about what I want to learn new because I think I'm in a learning season right now. And I'm like, girl, learn the lesson that's in front of you now before going to look for something new. I mean, our company is growing so quickly and it's a lot. So even how you mentioned, like when you see those ads that are like, grow a company to 5 million in 5 months, it's not even the fact of the expenses. It's like, at 5 million, you don't even understand how many people you would be dealing with at 5 million. So knowing how to show up for clients, knowing how to show up for my team without neglecting myself and showing up for myself, I'm just learning to balance how to actually be a good CEO. And so that is what I'm learning in this season.
That's a big learning. I would say, I don't know if it's helpful, but I learn a lot by watching other people, which kind of goes into my next question for you, which is, are there humans or maybe it's brands that you follow on socials? So it could be Instagram or it could be TikTok or it could be anything that really light you up, because I feel like I'm always one who's kind of like, if people are not bringing you happiness and making you feel inspired and energetic on these social platforms, like unfollow. If there are accounts that are making you feel bad about yourself or sad, like this is not the space for that. Like you want to feel motivated and kind of how we were talking about with friends, like getting good energy around you that makes you feel like, oh, I can launch that business, or I can go after that signature offer, not like feeling bad about yourself. Like, what are some accounts or people or brands that you follow that just every time you see their content, you're just like, yes, good.
Yeah. I would say two people, and they kind of do the same things. My friend Dominique Broadway, she teaches people how to trade, and I love seeing her growth. She's a wife and a mom. I think her daughter now is 2 and she's expecting again, but it's cool seeing her not let her foot off the gas, even though she is a mom and even though she is pregnant. Like, she continues to level up, and like she just got a new beachfront house in Miami, and I'm like, this house is absolutely insane. And every time I see a woman winning online, it already gets me excited. But to like see her in a circumstance where most people have the freedom to slow down, it's like it's amazing watching her. And I think the other person that I love watching, I mean, there's so many people. Okay, the other person I would say who also teaches trading, Terry Igioma. And she's a friend of mine as well. And she just got a place in, actually, I don't know if she told people publicly, but she just got a place that's not in the States or whatever. It cost so much money that it's like, if you guys heard the number, you would be like, are you insane? Why? Like, people don't even make this in a 3-month time frame. That's how much it costs per night. And what she decided was, I'm not going to use the money that I have to pay for this. I'm going to trade and make that money daily to pay for this. I'm like, girl, like, you're taking things to another level. And I love people that just have that abundant level thinking, where it's like, you just decided that you were going to make an extra how much ever money, thousands of dollars per day to cover this place. Like, that definitely inspires me. So those two people are definitely, they got me feeling like, yes, Maya, you're doing well, but there's no limit.
Okay, they're going to be fast follows for me after we get off this live. Okay, and then the last thing, if you could give everybody who's with us today a homework assignment.
Ooh.
Maybe it's something they should watch, maybe it's something they should listen to, maybe it's something they should try or eat or do or see. What would be like the one universal homework assignment that you would give all of us?
Oh my gosh, not the one. I don't know if I could give you guys one, because the first thing that came to mind was raise your rates. That was the first thing that came to mind, because most of y'all are not charging what you should be charging. But the one that I am going to give you, if I had to give a book suggestion, would be The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. It's going to change your life 100%. Like, that book will have you doing things that you're supposed to be doing. Total game changer. It makes you so much more aware of your thoughts, and it makes you intentional about the words that come out of your mouth. It's game changer. You want to change your life, read that book.
Okay, wait, and who's the author again?
Joseph Murphy.
Joseph Murphy. Okay. Everyone, we're going to read that book. If you decide to get the book on your Kindle or your Audible or from bookshop.org, which I love, tag us so that we can all do the homework together. So tag me, tag Maya, so we can see it. But Maya, you are such a gem, such an inspiration. And I just wanted to eternally thank you for today, and also ask, where can people keep learning from you? Where can they go to find more tips and tricks and life advice from Maya?
Yes, you can continue to follow me at Maya Elious on Instagram, MayaElious. It's not Mayalicious, it's Maya Elious. People always seem to read my name and say Mayalicious, but no, it's Maya Elious. And you can find tips, tricks, you can watch me work out, and you can just watch me live my best life, which is always inspiring.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the absolute best. So appreciate you here today. And thank you everybody for joining us. So I'm gonna raise my coffee cup and give a big cheers that everybody has a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Kim. Bye, everybody.
See ya.